One of the things that's interesting, I know that your bank does a lot of, is whenever there's something that's in question, you guys pick up the phone and you call me and say, hey,
Correct.
is this really you? And I think that's fantastic. But something, and I'm throwing this on you, we did not talk about this before, but something that's kind of bothered me. You're familiar with Newell. We've worked together for a long time. And Newell Academy has, for folks who probably haven't seen it, for folks at Newell, almost everybody's seen Newell Academy. But if anybody ever sees this, like as one of our directors, they wouldn't have seen Newell Academy. It's all people talking, but it's all fully AI generated and it's passable. And so one of the last things we did with Newell Academy before we actually kind of shut it down, and we're not using this format a little bit more, is Newell Academy's AI had the ability to take a bunch of pictures of me and I would read off these different scripts. And now Newell Academy has me teaching. And so, people input in what they want me to say or what they want it to do. And it's me and it looks like me. It sounds like me, unfortunately. I hate my voice, but it sounds like me. And, there's a little bit of like the blinking you can tell is too regular and the facial expressions are but if it's over a period of 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you probably would catch it.
Sure.
So is that something you guys worry about? Because now 100%. I realize that, I'm sorry?
100%. But we're already addressing that internally with the new developments of AI and being able to do voiceovers and create, I call you on the phone and it's a spoof number and now I'm talking to a Donnie. It sounds like a Donnie, feels like a Donnie, talks like a Donnie, but it's not a Donnie, right? So, which puts us in a situation again where we always want to do what the client wants and we want to try to make the client happy. But we are never going to do something, at least myself, that I'm not 100% confident in what I'm doing is right. Whether that makes a client upset for the night, whether that gets us potentially fired, I'd rather have the $500,000 or $200,000 or $1,000 still in the bank safe than send it out because I took the direction of AI generated Adoni. We differ a little bit with that is, you and I talk quite a bit, Adoni. We have in-person meetings. I do that with the majority of my clients because it's nice to know new things about them. Because if I'm talking to you, I can say, hey, what'd you do? We know things about each other that we might, your AI generated person that's doing this might not know, right? So there's kind of a reason why we have the more in-depth conversations and it's not transactional. It's more of a get to know the person you're on the other line with, because if something did come up like that, there are things that you and I could probably talk about that someone that's trying to spoof you might not know, which makes us a little different than some of our competitors that really just aren't either aren't in Naples, aren't in Florida, aren't in wherever, that may not know you. Yes, they know you professionally, but they might not know you and be able to ask different questions. But the AI thing is becoming a huge challenge for us as an industry in general, not just with wire transfers, to make sure that we know who we're talking to is actually who it is.
Yeah, and it's a little terrifying because it's kind of like, I feel like we're in those sci-fi movies where you have the clones or the person who looks exactly like them and you're like, which one should I shoot? Yeah. And you're like asking them the question. So, I'd be like, if I was asking around, I'd be like, so Ryan, who is the best Formula One driver? Right? Give the wrong answer, we're gonna have to shoot you. But
exactly. You want to touch on one other thing, I don't know if we have a little bit of time to talk about another fraud case, which people should be very aware of, is people receive an email that allows bad guy to get into their computer. So we have a system that's more for our companies like yours, Adoni, which is called Treasury Connect, which is our kind of like the Rolls Royce of the online platforms within First Horizon. So it allows you to do a lot. It allows you to send wires if you have the capability to send ACHs, to do internal transfers, there's a lot of different capabilities it allows you to do. And anything that changes a user's access or sends money outside the bank, it at the end, it tells you to enter in a code. And it's usually a 6-digit rolling code. And that's usually done one of three ways. One, it's a hard token, which we all remember those little tokens that are about this big that will roll every 60 seconds. Correct. That. The second one is on your... the second one is on your phone. And I'll give you an example of that one. And a lot of people are going to the phone one. So it looks like it's very similar. And it's just it generates a code on the phone that just rolls every 60 seconds. Which is nice because if you leave your token in your desk, you can have your phone on you and you do it. The third one, which I do not like, is the online one. And a lot of employees of employers say, I don't want anything from the company on my phone because you're not paying for it. So it is a authenticator on your desktop that rolls. The problem with that is if someone has access to your computer, guess what they can see? Your rolling code. So we have had situations where a link was created, someone infiltrated the system, someone got in, sent money out, because everything, they're acting like you on the computer at that point in time. Again, it's watching your accounts, knowing who you're doing business with, knowing who you're talking to. And when you hit that send button, just have the understanding that it's not a dress rehearsal. It's sending out and it's gone.
Internally, as far as fraud goes, there are so many systems in place that Newell has had to implement. I don't want to get the number out, but our expenditure on our cybersecurity and anti-fraud has become exorbitant between the salaries and the software and everything that we have to purchase. Whether it's, and I don't want to give the names because we actually have a security group that tells me that I'm not supposed to talk about stuff with our security, like even in our proposals. But so we have, hardware firewalls that are in place. And each one of those is probably $20,000 or $30,000 that we buy for each office. And the thing is because it's a subscription, every 2 years we buy a brand new one. Because it's less expensive to spend $30,000 to buy a new one and have a new warranty for 2 years than it is to spend $15,000 to get the update. And now we have new hardware. So every office, you've got $30,000, $15,000 a year basically that you're spending just on the hardware firewall. We've got, which I'll give this out because it shows in our email, Barracuda for anti-fraud. We've got for what's it called, Swordfish for the spearfishing stuff that comes in. You were talking about the tokens, and I don't know if this token is from yours. I know I have that. This is something that I've really liked. These plug into our computers, but it needs your fingerprint. So you have to plug it into your computer and give it your fingerprint for it to load up, to give us the 6-digit code that we need. I think that's kind of cool. With the phone, it's shouldn't admit this online. Most of the time, I do keep my phone locked, but I have a habit of being on my motorcycle, and I like to be able to take calls. And so if I'm riding my bike, I unlock my phone so that if I get stopped and I'm stuck in traffic, I can open it up and get in my email or whatever. If you've got gloves on the motorcycle, you can't access anything. So, you just do it that way. So there are times my phone's not locked. And then my token would be available, and if it's with my laptop, and I guess that's probably
the whole system then starts to create the circle. Right. The other thing we recommend, and we're seeing a lot more of this now in your business, it's a little more challenging just because the volume that you deal with, but is our Positive Pay feature. Positive Pay is an added security protection related to checks and ACH that says 2 ways, right? You can upload a file and say, these are all the checks we wrote. These are good. If anything else comes through that doesn't match this, tell us. And then you have the decision to pay it or return it. Or we have what's called a reverse Positive Pay, where you don't have to upload a file. Everything in the morning comes on your screen. You go through the checks, which now you're understanding why I'm saying it's difficult for someone like your business. And you decide those items. So if something comes through that's fraud, you're not going to pay it. You'll know about it right away.
We are huge fans of Positive Pay. We use it, and I want to applaud First Horizon. And actually, this isn't why you're here, but I recognize that you guys are investing quite a bit in trying to develop API integrations with the software management companies use to send that information over.
Yes.
And we have that in place. The Positive Pay is fantastic, and we have we issue out the payments, and then it sends that information to the bank, and then we do get an exceptions report. Because sometimes what will happen is, if it's in a hurricane or something, we may issue a check out of our software, and the person will literally take it and try to deposit it that day. And depending on how the API works, it hasn't updated it with the bank. So we end up getting that in our file, and we say, yes, that is correct. And I actually think your team has called us about potential frauds before, where they think there might be a fraudulent check, or they email us and say, hey, did somebody actually write this check? And we definitely appreciate that.
So we've integrated a new AI platform into our fraud program, which it learns. So it understands XYZ association. This is kind of the norm for that association, right? These are the check ranges. This is the stock of the check. This is the dollar amount. This is the serial number of the check. let's say you have a project, the pool needs redone, you painted the building, and all of a sudden the check comes through that's for $500,000. Because it learns and it kind of understands the account transaction history, it's like, hey, this one doesn't look right? We're going to call this one out. Now we call someone like yourself, Adoni, and say, did XYZ association pay this painting company $500,000? Now that is a learning system. So a brand new association to the bank, it doesn't know anything. It's still learning its tendencies. So people will ask, why did this check get through? Well, it's only as good as the information that it's ingested. To a degree, I mean, there is still a manual level behind it, and we still monitor it, but the AI is really helping catch potential fraudulent checks.
Yeah, I think that, it's kind of like escalation. Somebody gets a gun, somebody starts wearing a bulletproof vest, someone gets armor-piercing rounds, and so it kind of, that's what we see is this escalation that's occurring. So It is kind of like a war. There's always the human element, the social engineering side. One of my best friends, and I'm going to have to send this to him because we're actually sitting here having this conversation. So I'm going to send this to him. So one of my best friends, he has a son. His name's Max. Max is an incredible young man. He is so sweet, but way too trusting. So one day, I think we were sitting in his parking lot. We were sitting in the driveway or something. I can't remember. And Max runs in. And the short of the story is Max had just gotten back from going to Walgreens because he had bought Target gift cards because the IRS was going to arrest him for a past due bill. And the only way he could pay it was with Target gift cards. And this kid had gone and bought like $500 of Target gift cards from Walgreens, or Visa gift cards. Might have been Visa gift cards. I'm sorry. It was Visa gift cards from Walgreens, had them activated, and then gave them to the IRS to cover this debt so that he wouldn't get arrested. And, it's funny now, but it was kind of, heartbreaking for him because
it's scary.
He just working. That was all the money he had.
Yeah.
And, these people had scammed him out of it using fear. And I think that's like my takeaway for this whenever I have my classes with my own team is that if there's something that is motivating you from a point of fear and urgency and all of that, it could be fraud. The situation I mentioned with that lake project, he was trying to scare me by saying, I'm going to fire you if you don't get this out right away. They try to push you into making that mistake. So I think that's always going to exist, the human element, because at the end of the day, it has to become a human decision whether we're going to issue that payment or not. Positive Pay, I really wish we could get all of our associations onto it. I really appreciate First Horizon. You guys have the local presence. I know you face to face, so I think that helps us. And that's something that I think a lot of our directors need to take into consideration when we try, oftentimes they'll want to do business with these different banks that might have a great rate, which oftentimes is a teaser rate anyway, but they'll have a great rate, but there's no local presence. And now we're putting huge amounts of money with this bank because of this great rate, but controls on that are somewhat limited. Before I let you go, one other thing I wanted to talk about is ACH filters. So we're talking about Positive Pay, we talked about ACH. Another fantastic tool that we have at our disposal are filters. And I'll let you explain it a bit more, but they kind of work in a couple of ways and they prevent the crane. So
essentially ACH filters is it's another level of Positive Pay. Essentially, ACH companies that conduct, do ACH transactions have what's called an ACH company ID. And it's kind of like, this is us, this is our address, right? And you can go in and put in Florida Power and Light as a approved company that you want to debit your account, and you can put a limit in. And I don't want it to take any more out than $5,000. Anything over $5,000, I want to be notified of it. But it allows FPL, so every month when your FPL bills due, it allows you to come in and take the crane, like you said, and pull out your money, and then you get to continue with your light, your power bill. But let's say something happens, FPL gets hacked, and now another company has your information. They're trying to come in and take your money. Well, that's not an approved ACH vendor. So that's going to come onto a report saying, hey, over here, someone's trying to pull money out of my account. It's not approved. What do you want to do with it? And then it goes to someone like you, Adoni, and say, let me look into this, figure it out. You can deny it, right? Or you could pay it depending on what you want to do. But the ACH filters are very nice, especially for your utility companies you pay every month and you know what you're doing with them. We recommend it and we use them frequently. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. and we will definitely stay in touch. And I'm looking forward to seeing your AI solutions for virtual Adoni trying to request money
Virtual
to be
Adoni.
moved. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll still be calling you somehow or meeting you or whatever the case might be. But I'm just going to leave it at this. We in the financial industry are not putting a heart in. We're not doing brain surgery. Someone's not on the table getting ready to die. 9 out of 10 times, if you take a pause, to your point, if you're being pressured, scared, nervous, it doesn't feel right, sleep on it. The majority of the things we do, if it happens today or it happens tomorrow morning, is not changing the outcome. Again, saying the majority, because there are always that one thing that, a closing or whatever it might be. But something that comes up and you feel pressure, scared, nervous, second thoughts, hold off. Just wait. Think about it. Talk to a banker. Talk to someone you trust. Run it by them, and then proceed or don't proceed with the transaction. That's my advice. Just give it a second.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you joining us, and look forward to continuing to work with you. And
looking forward to do another podcast. Sorry we got thrown a curveball today, but if anything else we can help with, Adoni, please let me know.
No worries. So we were going to have another person joining us, but they were unable to join us due to some technical difficulties. So we'll probably have to schedule a round 2 with First Horizon.
Yeah. So I can just say, so we were going to have a guest on. It was our head of our security department, First Horizon. And while I can talk about high level things, she really is in the trenches and sees it day to day, and kind of will talk about more in detail of what Adoni and I talked about. So maybe we'll do like you said, a round 2, and we'll do some audio checks first on her.
Or if she's around, bring her here. Like, unfortunately, we could have met together and done this at the studio.
Sure.
If she's ever in town, bring her. We'll use the studio and we can all 3 get together.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Thanks a lot.